In this short demo, we'll cover some of the highlight features of Necto. We see Necto embedded inside SharePoint, and we see Necto's home screen. Necto's building blocks are Workboard. A workboard is a collection of KPIs, charts, and grids, but also of discussions and comments and threads made between users. We see here a link for my recent workboards, which are the workboards I recently visited, my favorite workboards, but also relevant workboards. Relevant workboards are workboards that Necto suggests to me according to my topics of interest. Necto is aware which workboards are available through the entire organization, deliver those which Necto believes are the most relevant to the specific user. Of course, everything goes through security. We can also quickly filter the reports according to different topics which are available in Necto that users assign to the workboards. Discussions are discussions I'm having between users over the data. They are specific to a specific cell, dimension, chart, or KPI, or to the entire workboard. I can also subscribe with Necto to users and get all the workboards that they publish and create. But let's start by looking at a specific workboard and understanding the different components that the workboard has. Let's click on this workboard which Necto suggests to me. So this is a workboard that we can see here. We see all the different KPIs here and the grid and the chart. We also see the social bar above, but let's start and understand the different components of the workboard. So here we see a workboard which is related to a reseller and a wholesaler which sells its product through stores but also through other resellers and through online and catalog. We see the different product we can slice the workboard according to in different territories. We also see a chart that depicts the different sales according to the different channels through a period of a year. Below we see a grid and we also see the corresponding chart and some KPIs. Now there's a lot of data here and can be a bit confusing to users to decide where to start their analysis. Necto helps the user focus on the relevant data and suggest the relevant data to them. A good example will be the automatic insight. When I click on this button here, Necto will automatically highlight the areas in which Necto identifies problems. And we can see that Necto identified two different cells inside the grid which has a potential issue. If we hover on top of the cell, we can see a significant decrease in sales that Necto identifies between June and July for the music and movies and audiobooks product in North America. Let's start by filtering the entire workboard according to the music and movies and audiobooks. Then unselect Europe and Asia and just stay with North America. And then we can see in the chart itself the significant decrease that Necto identified. And if we look at the grid, we can see again the problematic product over North America. Let's switch the product dimension with channel name dimension so we can see the problem on the different channels. And we can see that Necto actually identifies a problem in each and every channel. What we can do is kind of raise the threshold and focus only on the real problematic channels. And when we do that, we see that the reseller exception is the only one left standing. And we can see that Necto actually identifies a significant decrease on the reseller side of over 30%. Now the issue we have now is that the cube that this grid is based on, which can be SQL 2012 or SQL 2008, in-memory or a traditional all-up cube, doesn't have information on the exact resellers that we have. So it only can tell me there's a problem with the resellers. Luckily, our resellers send us once a month their pipeline over Excel file. What we can easily do is integrate this data inside Necto within SharePoint. So all we have to do is click on the editing mode here. And then we are in editing mode. And then we can add different components and elements to the Necto grid, such as another grid from analysis services or from SQL 2012 or navigation component, picture component, text, whatever we want to. Let's start by adding a grid component, which will include the Excel file with the pipeline of the resellers. After we drag the new grid component, we have the ability to connect to an existing report or create a new one. When we click on Create New, we can connect to different types of data sources, including analysis services, Power Pivot, SQL 2012, reporting services, and can of course connect to the Excel file we mentioned. So when we click on this, we go to the menu of Connect to File, we click Browse, and we can choose the Excel file we want to connect to. Before we do that, let's have a quick look at the Excel file itself. We see the Excel file, which includes the name of all the resellers, the product they purchased, the amount and date, etc. Let's go back to Necto and connect to the actual Excel file and choose the pipeline worksheet, click Finish. Let's maximize the grid and start slicing the data we see. Okay, so we wanted to focus on North America and then on the music, movies, and audiobooks product. Click Apply. Now we get the list of resellers in North America that sold the music, movies, and audiobooks. Now we want to focus on June and July, which were the problematic months that we are questioning. So I'm going to choose those months. And we see Necto already identified for us a specific reseller with an issue. If I have on top of the exception here, I see that Necto identified that this reseller suffered a substantial decrease in sales of over 80% between June and July. Let's change the layout here for flat, so we can just make it a bit more slim. And then choose only the grid and go back to our workboard. So now we have hand in hand the initial grid we're working on and the one we attached from an external data source. We want to communicate this now to the business users or to my colleagues. Let's first start by adding comments. So I can add a comment by just clicking on the comment button and dragging it and placing it on the component I want to add the comment to. It can be to a grid, to a KPI, to a chart, also to a specific cell or to a dimension. In this case, let's add it to the grid here and explain what this grid is all about. Okay, so now I want to start a more active discussion with the users, trying to understand what caused the problem. So I'm going to go to the social tab here and drag Tomer, which is the manager for the Powerhouse reseller, and place him on the specific discussion I want to talk to him about. When I do that, I can see the discussion pane opening to the left, and I can start my discussion with Tomer. So I can add here my comment and save it. The cool thing is that Tomer, when he logs in and gets the alert from the discussion, can also include other people to the discussion, trying to create an ad hoc team which will try to realize what caused the drop in sales. Now all the discussions I have with the users are all logged in on SharePoint my site, and I can just visit my site and get updates on the feeds and discussions I'm having with people on Necto, and just click from those feeds back to Necto and so forth. Okay, let's say I want to investigate more what caused the drop in sales. I want to further understand the sales over the different periods for the different channels. Now I can connect now to new data source and create my new reports. Or again, I can utilize the collective intelligence that we have in the organization. Basically learn what other users have been doing. I can do that by clicking on the advisor button. When I do that, I have a bird's eye view of the workboard I've been viewing. I can see how many people visited, how many people liked it, but also get recommendations on where to look to next. So the first type of recommendation is based on views. Colleagues who view this workboard also view these workboards. So this is the same type of a recommendation you would get, for example, in Amazon when purchasing a book. The second type of recommendation is based on data. So basically, Necto compares the data we have on our coin workboards to the tags and data we have in other available workboards. So then I can just go ahead and choose a workboard I want to focus on. Now I see this workboard opening and I see it focuses around Q3, which is actually the relevant time for us because we're looking at June and July. I also see here a grid which deals with the products and the territory, and we can see an exception. Let's hover on top of the exception to understand what it does. So this exception actually highlights countries within each and every territory which sold less than 30,000 US dollars. I can go ahead and change the threshold if I want to look at countries which sold less than 900,000 US dollars. And I can see some exceptions actually disappearing. But let's see again what Necto discovers. Let's click here on the one-click insight. We can see a lot of exceptions actually highlighted. Let's again increase the threshold to focus on the more serious problems we have. When we do that, we see again that North America is left standing, and again, music, movies, and audiobooks is selected. This time, let's click on cause and effect. So what we do when we click on cause and effect, Necto will try to suggest to us reasons for the drop in sales by utilizing a root cause algorithm, which provides us with different options for the decrease in sales. So now we see 4 different grids that Necto suggests to me. These grids, as you can see, show different information. For example, this one shows channel over territory. This one shows specific product styles over territory. We see that Necto identified 5 specific product styles in North America that suffered a substantial decrease in sales. Let's say we find this grid interesting. What we can do is just add it to our scrapbook by dragging and placing it here to the left on the scrapbook. A scrapbook is a cool way for us to save different KPIs, grids, and charts we see and like, and then later on use them. So let's go back to the workboard we have been exploring. Now we can very easily add this new grid to the workboard we have been looking at. So that's it. There's a lot more cool stuff we can do with Necto. Log in to www.panorama.com for more examples and demos.